Hi everyone, my name is Maddie Kaminsky, and today we're going to be diving into a topic that's crucial for understanding how we talk about neurodiversity and mental health, the medical paradigm and its reliance on the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, or the DSM-5. Before getting started, it is crucial that we understand both the medical paradigm and the neurodiversity paradigm. The medical paradigm aims at normalizing individuals' behaviors and believes that there is one definition of normal. If someone does not fit this norm, then they are characterized as abnormal and unalike from the rest of society. On the other hand, the more inclusionary paradigm, known as the neurodiversity paradigm, accepts everyone for their unique differences. Not only does this approach recognize people for their strengths, but it also points out challenges one might face in terms of external factors, such as within institutions. Given this, I'm going to ask the following. Is the DSM-5 sufficient in lending a full comprehensive explanation of such disorders, or should we as a society switch to a more diverse paradigm in understanding what it means to be neurodiverse? The DSM-5 serves as a guide for clinicians to diagnose mental health conditions. On the surface, it seems like a helpful tool, but the way it's structured can actually create some significant challenges. First, the medical paradigm, the lens through which the DSM operates, is heavily focused on pathologizing individuals. You may ask, what does that mean? Essentially, it's about categorizing neurodivergent experiences as disorders that need to be fixed, rather than exploring the full spectrum of human diversity. While these labels can help in understanding symptoms, they don't always capture the lived experiences of neurodivergent people. Instead, they often reduce those experiences to generalized descriptions that may miss the nuances of individual lives. Second, the DSM-5 is designed to provide clinicians with diagnostic material. But here's the problem. These descriptions are often oversimplified. Mental health and neurodiversity are complex, and trying to fit that complexity into rigid categories can lead to gaps in understanding. This oversimplification doesn't just affect individuals, it also has implications for psychological research. By focusing on narrow criteria, we risk ignoring the natural variations and environmental factors that play a huge role in shaping these experiences. The DSM-5 tends to focus on the individual without fully considering the societal and environmental influences that contribute to neurodivergent experiences. There's also the issue of stigma. While the DSM-5 helps recognize neurodiverse conditions, it doesn't do enough to challenge societal stigma that surrounds them. By keeping the focus on the individual as the problem, we miss opportunities to shift perspectives and build a more inclusive world. You may ask, what's the takeaway? The DSM-5 is a tool, but it's not the whole story. This is where the neurodiversity movement and lived experiences come into play. As mentioned before, the neurodiversity movement includes a strengths-based approach. Not only is this framework more neuroaffirming, but allows for individuals to talk openly about their identities and share their unique experiences with the world. This tactic is not only beneficial for the individual, but also beneficial for researchers within their academic pursuits. As Patrick Dwyer, a human development researcher, states, scholars are urged to study both individual neurodivergent people and the context around them, to consider both strengths and weaknesses, to recognize their own biases, and to listen to and learn from neurodivergent people. Rather than encouraging individuals to mask their behaviors, this framework allows for differences to be accepted and shared. In order to do this, people can use the outlet of sharing their lived experiences. Not only does sharing one's lived experience allow for one to help others understand their identity better, but it also brings into the picture intersectionality and the ways in which experiences may differ based on other unique identities such as race, gender, or sexuality. Kate Zarbotny, an autistic individual, shares in her journal posting her experiences in getting diagnosed, being bullied within academic settings, and coming to learn more about her identity and who she is as a person. In this, she states that no two people are the same, no two brains are the same either. We need to be better at celebrating people's differences and accepting them for who they are. This neuroaffirming approach and sharing her lived experience models just that of the neurodiversity movement, accepting and celebrating differences. This is what I hope to do more in this video, and showcasing the importance of lived experiences, all while interviewing a few of my close friends and spreading acceptance around individualistic differences. All of the people I will be speaking to in these next few portions of the video have all given me their consent to participate and have also been informed on what this video is about. The first person I will be interviewing is my partner Sean. Sean has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, also known as ADHD. According to Weiland and Spencer, ADHD is among the most common neurobehavioral disorder presenting for treatment in children. It is characterized by difficulty staying on task, paying attention, or being organized, as well as excessive restlessness and impulsive behaviors. Under a neurodiversity umbrella, ADHD can be recognized past its symptomology. According to Neurodiversity Belgium, significant benefits derive when ADHD is firmly placed under the neurodiversity umbrella, the main ones being the reduction of stigma and discrimination and the raising of the self esteem of the individuals themselves. In this interview, I hope to share more of Sean's story and his experiences with his ADHD. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm here with Sean now. Sean, say hi.
Hello.
So, as I mentioned previously before, Sean was diagnosed with ADHD. So, my first question for you, Sean, is when did you first start noticing symptoms of your ADHD or any challenges associated with it that led to your diagnosis?
I was originally diagnosed by a neuropsychologist at the age of 5 or 6, I believe. Um, I never really recognized I had a problem until the age of 10 or 12, though. That's when I started recognizing myself. Um, but I didn't start using medications such as stimulants till the age of 18, till after high school.
And were there any obstacles you faced or encountered during your diagnostic journey?
The biggest issue I faced was phone issues, mainly within the home life, and not necessarily in a bad way. Just my parents did not want me going on medication.
Mm-hmm.
My mother thought it was best to take a more nature.
Holistic?
Thank you. Route, and we went with things like caffeine or tea throughout the day to help me keep me focused.
Mm-hmm. So, autonomy was a huge thing.
Very much so. Very much.
Um, to go off that, how did you feel when you first received your diagnosis? Was it a relief to you? Was it overwhelming at first? I mean, I know you were 5 or 6 at the time, but even like later on,
Even
how?
then, I didn't know. At that age, I didn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
When I started trying to get an understanding, um, I knew I had issues with dyslexia. So combating with that and ADHD, I didn't really realize that I had a issue with reading and focusing. I thought it was just all combined as one. Um,
So it was
as
so the dyslexia was it's
Yes,
co-occurring. Okay.
but the dyslexia was the only one that I really went through a program. I went through the Wilson Reading Program, is what it was called, to help with it, so I could really
Mm-hmm.
get better at my reading and comprehending skills. With ADHD, I only took the route of caffeine until 18. At 18, I, I was awoke, and I really found myself a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So it provided you validation, you would say.
hmm I really got an understanding of my issues, and I felt I had a lot more control over myself
Mm-hmm.
and knowing who I am.
Yeah. And how supportive were the professionals that you were seeing at the time when you were being diagnosed? And how supportive were your family members and friends during this time as well? And even so now,
Um,
especially.
as to as the professionals, that always were very extremely polite and very much trying to give you an understanding of what's going on. They're very open and honest. My first psychiatrist was very much textbook definition of the DSM-5. Um, I eventually ended up moving and had to switch to different psychiatrists. My second psychiatrist is a lot more uh, open, I guess you'd say, isn't as much to the textbook and really more to what fits your lifestyle and daily needs. And it's a lot more comforting, a lot, you know, easier to talk to him month by month and really know what's going on with myself. And I feel a lot more open with him. And I feel like it's a lot healthier route than what I was taking before.
Mm-hmm. And if you could change anything about your diagnostic journey, what would it be?
Um, I would say the way they do testing for
Mm-hmm.
ADHD, they the test I don't think is completely accurate. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Although it does give you a good understanding of what is going on. It's just I don't think they have it pinpointed to
Mm-hmm.
exact T. And at that point, I think it's more of a psychiatrist really need to getting a further understanding on who they're working with. Um, and many don't do that. Many just textbook says here they get this, and that's what we're going to start with. And
Mm-hmm.
there's always a bunch of different things you can different medications you can work with to really figure out what fits best for that person. But as to really getting an understanding of that person, it's I feel like the psychiatrists really need to work with you.
Hmm. And how do you think that society views ADHD, and do you feel that those perceptions align with your experiences specifically?
Say it again.
How do you think society views ADHD, and do you feel that those perceptions align with your experiences
Um,
specifically?
I I think a lot of times they have a misconception for ADHD. They see a lot of people as being lazy.
Mm-hmm.
I I know I've been called that one too many times. Um, but a lazy person can show similarities to someone with ADHD, and I understand that, but it's two completely different things. It's
Mm-hmm.
really ADHD people a lot of times getting losing track of what they're supposed to, finishing the task.
Yeah. So to go off that, have you faced any challenges or stigmatization associated with your ADHD in professional or academic environments?
Within the professional environment, uh, work, I've been grateful with bosses to not have to worry about anything. As the academics, though, uh, it always grew up being hard. Um, Facing a lot of issues, uh, from harassment to even getting good grades in general. Back and forth, everything. I always got made fun of, even by my friends, for being in the less intelligent class. Um, but I knew in other ways, my own ways, that I was smarter than them.
Hmm.
So,
And have you found ways to educate others about ADHD in order to combat stigma? And if so, how have you done that?
um, I, for me personally, I've mainly shown it in my profession. Um, like I said, my boss is very understanding, and he knows that when I get the job done, I strive for perfection. Um, but when it comes to just teaching other people, it's really just for me keeping a very good routine to my life. Waking up and generally doing almost the same thing every day, having a healthy lifestyle, um, really helped with everything.
What about your parents? Do they play a role in that?
They were, it was very hard to explain to them. The biggest thing was having them get an understanding of how bad my case was of being able to focus. It really hit to home when my mom finally started understanding how bad it actually was. When I was like, I wish you put me on in high school, but realistically, it probably was for the better.
Hmm.
Better just for brain
Put you on
development.
medication, you're referring to?
Correct, correct. But probably for the better that I let my brain develop, and know that I could do it without the medication.
Hmm. Last question. What current knowledge do you hold about the DSM 5, and what current knowledge do you hold about the neurodiversity paradigm, if you've ever heard of it?
I've heard it a handful of times, mainly from you talking about it after your class. But the DSM-5, I know enough. I have an idea of, you know, mainly what's going on, but do I have my opinions on it? Yes. I don't really think everything is fully correct. It's very good for giving you an idea of what's happening, and it's very good for textbook definition. But is it exact? I don't think so. I think there's um, a lot of things it's personally wrong about.
In terms of like explaining differences in people
Oh yes, exactly. I think
and
there's
emphasizing
it doesn't really
strengths.
go into cultural differences, um, stuff like that. There's a lot of it says someone has an anxiety attack, or theoretically on paper someone might have something, but in reality it's a whole different case. I think a lot of that is just really coming down to the doctors at this point, really getting a deeper intel on their who they're working with.
Hmm.
Really getting an understanding of who the person is and what's going on in their life.
The next people I will be interviewing are Alyssa and her sister Julie. Alyssa has a rare neurodevelopmental disability caused by a mosaic gene abnormality on the 21st chromosome. Abnormalities on the 21st chromosome are usually characterized as Down syndrome, according to the NIH, but this genealogy does not relate to Alyssa's case. Before moving into this interview, I wanted to give a quick disclaimer that I will be interviewing Julie, Alyssa's sister, more in the diagnostic questions due to their nature and in order to make Alyssa feel more comfortable with the interview process. After, I will be asking more questions directed towards Alyssa about her strengths and meaningful things within her life. Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Julie, Alyssa's sister. Alyssa will be joining us in a little bit, but I'm just going to start by asking you some questions about Alyssa just because the nature of the conversation we're having might be a little bit difficult, and Julie's talked to her family a little bit about how to answer these questions just because she was younger when all this was going on. So the first question I have for you is, when did your family start to notice signs or challenges that led to seeking a diagnosis?
So, like Maddie said, I was a baby when all of this was going on. So, I have no memory of any of this. This is on behalf of my parents. But they said around age 2, she wasn't reaching her speech milestones.
Okay. And how familiar were you with this condition or your family before Alyssa received a diagnosis?
Well, for me, it's my whole life, but for my family, they knew absolutely nothing about it, especially because before her, there was only one other man with the same diagnosis on record. So, they really had no idea.
Okay. And what was the process like for her getting diagnosed?
She saw it took a few years. It was a pretty long process. She saw multiple doctors, neurologists, physicians, and she was finally properly diagnosed with a geneticist.
Okay. And around what age was that, if you can remember?
I think 5 or 6.
5 or 6. Okay. And I'm assuming it, like, as you said, it involved like multiple specialists, tests, things like that to like receive that formal diagnosis.
Yes.
Okay. And how did you feel, or how did your family feel once they received the diagnosis? Was it a relief? Was it overwhelming? Did it give you answers?
Well, she was misdiagnosed a few times throughout her
Mm-hmm.
life. Originally, doctors thought it was hearing loss, which it wasn't. And then they misdiagnosed her with severe ADHD, which again, it wasn't. So when we finally went to a geneticist and got, a real concrete answer, I'm sure that was very, what's the word? It was a relief to get an answer, but it
Mm-hmm.
was also very terrifying for my parents, not having a lot of prior knowledge or guidance on this. And all parents want for their children is for them to reach their fullest potential. And they just wanted to make sure they could support her in the best way possible.
Yeah, totally. And have you been able to find information or resources about her disability since she was diagnosed?
Um, like I said, her disability is extremely rare, so there wasn't really much guidance or information on her case specifically. However, there were a lot of resources through schools, friends, families, our community with similar people with similar disabilities as Alyssa, and doctors.
Very nice. And what role do you and your family play in her journey since her diagnosis?
It's really all just about love and support and communication. Um, Especially as she gets older, communication and learning all together is very important. Um, we encourage her to be the best she can possibly be, and we just assist her in whatever she needs along the way.
Yeah, and how do you think that the rarity of the disability affects how individuals perceive it within society?
I think I always say that like disability is the most overlooked and least talked about minority, and I think a lot of people get the wrong misconception of it. Something that I hear a lot and my family hear a lot when we talk about it is, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and not only is that insulting, but it's just really wrong. I
Yeah,
mean,
totally.
no, you know us. We are the happiest people ever. And I'd be lying if I said disability doesn't come with its challenges, because it does, but everyone has their own unique challenges and it doesn't define us. So she is way more than her disability. She is the funniest person I know. She's sweet, she's kind, she's smart, and I just wish more people can understand that and realize that we're happier than most people.
And how would you like society to improve its understanding of rare disabilities like Alyssa's?
I think it all just starts with education, especially at a young age. I would love to see disability be talked about regularly in a school setting. It's important. It's a lot more people have disabilities than some may realize. Not all disabilities are physical or can be seen. And it's just important to love and accept everyone and understand.
Yeah, no, totally. I totally agree that it starts with education and that there is currently a lack of education within, basic schooling programs, private schooling programs, things like that. So I think it really does boil down to education and kind of like starting to have those conversations at a younger age.
Right.
And the proper conversations.
Yes.
So, oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Because in turn, people who aren't familiar with it, it's natural to feel uncomfortable when you're not familiar with something. So we have to familiarize it in society.
No, I totally agree. And last question for you. What is your current knowledge about the DSM-5 and what current knowledge do you hold about the neurodiversity paradigm if you've ever heard of it before?
Yeah, I'm a psych major, so I'm pretty familiar. Besides, disability being a big part of my life. But I know the DSM-5 is a really big part of, I guess, like diagnosing individuals with mental illnesses. A lot of doctors go off of that. And what was the other one?
Neurodiversity paradigm, if you've ever heard of it before.
Is that just like a model or perspective that like?
It's kind of like it's the counter to the medical model, like medical model
awesome.
Following like DSM-5 strict criteria, DSM-5, I think we all have our opinions on it, totally. But the neurodiversity paradigm, just to give you some context, it recognizes that everyone has their own like unique differences.
Okay.
That there is no like one definition of normal within society.
Awesome.
And it really emphasizes that everyone has their own unique strengths, but also that people are going to encounter challenges, but those challenges are external most of the time. And we have to fix those external factors to really help individuals, gain access to resources, fix education models like we were talking about before, things of that nature.
So, I love that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot less clear cut than the DSM.
Yes, totally. It's not very textbook, definition. It's a paradigm shift.
And that's how disability should be. There is no textbook definition.
Yep, totally.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you for your time, Julie.
Thank you.
Hey guys, now joining us is Alyssa. Alyssa, thank you for coming on today. So, first question I'm going to ask you is, what do you like to do?
I like to dance and sing.
Ooh, very nice. I love dancing and singing. And what have you been told that you are good at by other people?
So I'm good at many things to do. I'm good at like karate, singing, and I'm also athletic at running and cheering.
Ooh.
What do you get compliments on?
My styles.
Oh yeah, totally. She always has the best styles.
And
you have great taste in music, I will say that for sure.
Yes, I do.
Okay, Alyssa, next question for you. Do you like spending time with your family and friends, and what do you like to do with them?
Absolutely. I like to watch movies on Disney Plus or on Netflix, but we don't have Netflix right now because it's completely broken.
What happened?
And it's just like all the
household thing.
The household thing, what happened?
Oh, it got all messed up. I'm sorry about
Yeah.
that. What do you like to watch on Disney Plus?
Sometimes to watch Moana.
Ooh, the Moana 2 movie's coming out. Have you oh, I think it did come out. Have you seen it yet?
No.
You haven't? You have to go see it.
I'm going to see it with my sister and her friends, including you, Maggie, if you want to come with us.
Yes, I would totally love to go. Let me know when you guys are free and we'll totally go see it. And the new Wicked movie, too.
I saw that.
You guys saw it?
It's so good.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it.
Oh, sorry, Liz.
It's all right.
What else do you do with us?
I have to go out with my family a lot. Like,
where do we go?
We usually go on like vacations and stuff.
Where do you guys go?
Poconos.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so we are going there again, and we're going on the 15th of December,
Very nice.
and we're leaving on a Sunday.
You're leaving on Sunday? Nice. That'll be so much fun.
It says. So then, yeah.
Okay, next question for you, Liz. So, are there any more strengths that you want to highlight or things that you are good at?
So I'm smart. I'm strong,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm popular.
Very popular.
Yes, you
You're
are.
very popular. Liz was very popular in high school. She was.
Very.
I was Alyssa's younger sister in high school. I didn't have a name.
Everyone knew you as Alyssa's
younger
sister. Yup, totally. Last question for you. What is something that you wish you could do that you can't do?
I really wanted to do gymnastics
Mm-hmm.
and karate, and I always started studying on martial arts and taekwondo.
Mm-hmm. I know that you like to watch Cobra Kai a lot,
Absolutely.
which I do too.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wish you could do, or just martial arts and
Just martial arts.
just martial arts? Yeah, I agree. I would love to take a class.
Because on a video I watched of Lino
Mm-hmm.
on S class, and he does this big roundhouse kick, and I want to do it too.
You want to do it too? Yeah, maybe you can go take some classes and learn how to.
Yeah, exactly what I'm gonna do. Did you do anything? You want to say anything?
I wish that I could play sports. I am terrible at sports, but Alyssa's amazing at them.
Me too.
So you got to teach me your ways.
Totally.
The last person I will be interviewing is my friend DJ. DJ has Tourette's syndrome. According to researchers within a scholarly article, Tourette's is a neurodevelopmental motor condition of childhood characterized by motor and vocal tics and is listed in the DSM-5 under tic disorders. I'm sure that some of you have heard of narratives of Tourette's, whether it be through the media or movies, but most of them tend to be overdramatized and misconstrued in some of their representations. As stated by researchers, the medical model suggests that with higher severity and frequency, tics are necessarily disruptive and should therefore be inhibited. However, emerging calls from people with lived experience of Tourette's syndrome suggest that this is too narrow of a definition. I hope DJ's sharing of his experiences can better highlight Tourette's syndrome and the role it plays within his life. Hi guys, welcome back. Now I'm here with DJ. Thank you for coming today, DJ. So as I've mentioned before, DJ has Tourette's. So first question for you, DJ. When did you first start noticing symptoms of your Tourette's or challenges that later led you to your diagnosis?
So I would say it started around fourth, fifth grade. Everything before then was pretty normal, but then fourth, fifth grade, noticed more. For me, it's more motor tics now. It's more like it sounds like coughing or sneezing. But at that time, it was that. Plus, like, be walking, you kind of be jerking around a little bit. It was a little bit more physical. And I would say fourth, fifth, it started developing within that year just a little bit more worse and worse. I started to notice it, but then like teachers started noticing, and my mom started noticing it. So that was probably when it had like a pretty quick like decline right from the jump. So
And what was the process like for you in seeking a diagnosis? Did you consult a general practitioner, a specialist?
So for the longest time, for some reason, my mom just thought it was allergies. I don't know where we came to that conclusion. So I went to like probably 3 or 4 different allergists, and all of them were just like, yeah, like, it could be general allergies, could be this, that, and the other. But once we just got to one where the guy was just like, I have no idea what's going on. So he suggested going to some kind of, not say like a mental health specialist, but some kind of psychiatric, like maybe this is more than just like a physical external symptom, just throwing it out there out of the blue. So my mom went to a doctor. I'm not really necessarily sure what type of doctor, but he specialized in different developmental issues and things like that. So I went there. I sat in the waiting room for like 30 minutes, and then eventually I go back there. And there, what they do is you don't even realize they have you sit in the waiting room for like 30 minutes to an hour because they want to see naturally like what your symptoms are before you go in and like try to explain things or this, that.
And were there any obstacles or frustrations you encountered during your diagnostic journey?
Yeah, no, I think definitely. I think frustrations, I think it's two parts. I think it's with yourself and other people. I think with yourself, because, especially when you're young, you're a little kid, you're trying to figure out like why. You know what I mean? You're looking at yourself like, oh, why this, why that? And, I think, why do I look like this idea? But I think it's like, why am I like ticking or making these noises and like I can't stop? Like what's like why can't it be so simple? And I think the other issue is also too, I think with externally with other people. So, it's like that old phrase where like kids are cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go through school and stuff like that, especially when you're so young, elementary school, middle school, early on, like nobody really understands much about anything.
Yeah.
So anything just a little different, you're gonna point it out. And I don't think it's anybody's necessarily fault. I don't think it's like out of cruel nature most of the time. But yeah, I think it's just pointing things out, kids kind of teasing you and picking on you. And I think that obviously exacerbates, you get more stressed and makes it worse. So kind of figuring that out and giving people more the benefit of the doubt and myself benefit of the doubt definitely helped. But those are definitely a lot of early on challenges.
And how did you first feel when you received your diagnosis? Was it a relief? Was it overwhelming?
I didn't believe him at first because of how quick it was. Because like I said,
Mm-hmm.
he walked into the room, he was like, "Yeah, you have Tourette's," and I was just like, "I'm going to like 7 different doctors. Like, how do you like that? Whatever." But I think it was more of a relief. My mom was definitely a little bit more skeptical because again, she was just like, "That's usually like genetic. Nobody in our family, and nobody in our family has. It's literally just me and my brother. Like out of the like no, like we have no idea."
Oh, your
So
brother has Tourette's too.
he does, but he's a very, 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 very minor than me. But it definitely flares up. He's motor, but he'll. It's actually interesting. Mine's more like noises. His is actually words. So you see
Mm-hmm.
people on social media when they're yelling like all these words. He does it very quietly, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
notice that like if it's in a very like somber setting. But yeah, so I would definitely just I would say relieved, definitely happier, just because I was just like, all right, let's put a name to a face. And it's like, all right, what do we do from here? So
Yeah. And how supportive were the professionals you interacted with during the process, as well as like your family and friends? Like, what kind of role did they play in your life?
So I would say professionals definitely very supportive.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's like they see people coming in and out all the time, and especially when you're a little kid hearing something for the first time, it's kind of like that for them. It's just like that nice, I guess, like joy you get from helping solve situations, but also the education. Because he literally told me straight up, he goes, "Look, it happens. It's not the biggest deal in the world, and like you're gonna be fine."
Mm-hmm.
Just straight up, he was just like, "You're gonna be fine." Like you just there's some obstacles here and there you're gonna have to deal with. That's just more with other people, but like once you kind of like work through that, you'll be good. Friends and family, I would say it's definitely always supportive. Look, you got your outliers here and there. You got some, family members or friends that are still a little bit like it's still a little weird to them. You know what I mean? And they're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna fully jump on board. But that just comes with hey, like people are people. It's okay. You know what I mean? But for like for the most part, people are super supportive, super loving. You're just like yeah, like it's I walk into a room, somebody would just be like oh like he ticks, but then my friends will be like oh yeah he's Tourette's. Like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, totally. And how do you think society views Tourette's? Like, what types of stereotypes have you heard? And, like, do you feel that those align with your experiences specifically?
yeah, I think society I think social media really runs pretty much a lot of everything. Initially. I don't think it like runs everybody's thoughts, but a lot of those first impressions. So you see in social media, whenever I tell people I have Tourette's, they're like, "Oh, do you have like the fun kind?" Where you're screaming, you're like throwing your hands up and stuff like that. And that's like 100% a subset. But it's a very small subset that people don't understand. And I think that comes from look, like it's more you said that's more prominent when you first hear something. You're gonna get like the wildest side of it, but yeah, I think definitely those first impressions are gonna come from that.
Mm-hmm.
What was the rest of the question?
Oh, and do you feel like it like aligns like with your experiences?
Um, yes and no, because I've met people that have those kind of Tourette's,
Mm-hmm.
where they you shout and this that and the other. I think it's a little bit of a misrepresentation, a little bit, just because the people I know with those Tourette's, like people online, you see they're doing it this that and the other. Da, da. The people that have it and you actually talk to them, they're just like like it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
They can't have those relationships with people. People are looking at you. They can't go to concerts or Broadway shows or anything like that. So it's like they kind of have to like not seclude themselves, but really have to make sure they're in a room where everybody understands what's going on. So it's a harder life. I'm very fortunate that it's only gone to a certain degree,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it everybody's got their challenges with it, so you just kind of have to roll with it.
Yeah. And have you found a way to educate others about your Tourette's or just Tourette's in general? And if so, how have you done that?
Yeah, I think education really just comes with again, kind of like the social media outlook of it. When
Mm-hmm.
people are just like, oh, like, oh, you don't have the fun kind. People do this, people do that, da da da. Like what? And a lot of times you really run to people and you're like, I have Tourette's, and about half the time people are just like, I don't know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that opportunity just to be like, all right, look, all Tourette's is basically depending on type, it's like an excess of dopamine in your brain. So every time you're excited, this, that, and the other, you get a rush of dopamine. When you have Tourette's, you have too much. So your body's trying to expel energy. That's why you tick. Some people have more dopamine rushes than others. So that's why you scream, you do this, because your body needs to get that energy out. So, most people don't even know that. Like, what's the actual science of this, that, and the other? You tell them, they're just like, oh, okay. And now it just takes away that, like, I won't say like the magic, but people are just like, oh, like this is X, this is Y, this is what makes Z. I guess it makes sense. Okay, and you just kind of move on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And last question for you. What knowledge do you hold about the DSM-5, and what knowledge do you hold about the neurodiversity paradigm, if you've ever heard of it?
I'm gonna be honest, I've heard of the terms, but I'm not so like into it that like I really don't know what it is. Honest with you.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for talking to us today, DJ. I hope all these interviews combined revealed a little more to you about the medical and neurodiversity paradigms. It was revealed in a majority of these interviews that differences should be accepted and not something that should be changed in order for normalization efforts to come forth. In addition, the people I interviewed expressed their distrust or dislike in the DSM-5, but held little knowledge about the neurodiversity paradigm, revealing how this shift is something that is new within the realm of psychology. After these conversations, I was able to better explain the neurodiversity paradigm and what it holds, which was met with great feedback overall. Going forward in this field, I feel that it is important that lived experiences are shared, especially within research contexts, in order for acceptance and diversity to be spread within society. Thank you.